What is up? What is up, budget crew? Welcome back to another video. Another update for you guys. Where we last left off, we had finished cutting that piece, and I was talking about trying to patch this up or something. But if you look closely, where I left off, that cut right there is right here. And if I cut halfway, just how the other one is, it goes all the way through and it clears that nastiness right here. So we should be good to rock and roll, guys. Other than that, I've been really deep cleaning the engine bay, the transmission. We're in the process of removing that. Well, I am. The axle was having some trouble with it yesterday. It came off, but this piece was still stuck in there. And I was freaking out for a little bit, but I was able to get it out. But that's what we're going to be doing today, is removing the other side. But I'm actually going to show you guys how to do it step by step, or show you guys how I did it to remove it, you know. And we're going to be removing the transmission as well. Alright guys, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the brake caliper. Before that, I'm going to undo the little brackets that hold the lines in place. We have one here being held on by two 10mm bolts. The line goes around here. It's supposed to be held on here by some like fasteners or another bolt, but mine is just wrapped around. That's how the car came. That's how I bought it. That's how it's been this whole time. So yeah, we're going to take off these two 10mm bolts. And then we're gonna do the, I think these are 17s. Let me check real quick. All right, yeah. So it's 17mm bolts. So we're gonna have two, one up top, one in the bottom. Let's undo those real quick, and then you'll see this will come right off, and we can set it on the ground just like that. All right, guys. So I went ahead and undid those two 10mm bolts right here. The little bracket came off. The hose is all loose. We got play. Undid the 17mm bolts already. The top one and the bottom one. Oh, there you go. You see? It wants to come off already. So just going to take out the bolts. And there you go. Caliper comes right off. We're gonna set this aside. Normally you don't want it to be pulling on the brake lines because, you know, it can cause tension, or, you know, I don't know how old these are. So we're gonna replace them, so I'm not too worried about it, but for you guys. All right guys, so next thing we're gonna be removing is this little side control arm that attaches to the steering rack. But before that, there's a little pin here we have to undo. Let me show you guys. So it wraps around. So we're gonna undo that pin and then undo this bolt right here real quick. Alright guys, so once we get that pin out, it's gonna be another 17mm nut. So just gonna break this loose real quick on camera. Ah, fuck. Okay, give me a second. All right, so we got this 17mm nut off. Next thing, we're gonna use a floor jack to lift this up a little bit. And then all right, so now that we got that out of the way, we're gonna remove the knuckle. We're gonna start by doing this. We can remove the disc off first. We'll take off this. I think this is a 20. It's a 32 actually. It's a 32. All right, so check this out. Normally they have 2 screws on there. This one only had 1, so dang, this is I find out new things about this car every single time I work on it, so it's fun. But I'll undo this little screw, then we can take this shit out. Alright, so now we got this off. I'm gonna put the screw back in there so I don't lose it. We're gonna undo this bolt. We're gonna spray it with some WD-40 first. And then we're gonna use our trusty dusty Harbor Freight impact. So let me hit this shit real quick and I'll be right back once I break it loose. All right, just like that. All right, guys, so I undid that pin. I broke the nut loose. We're gonna do the same thing on the bottom here. Got the pin here and then another 17mm nut. So let me take these off real quick. All right, so after we did the pin, broke the nut loose, I'm gonna undo these right here. It's another 17mm bolts. It's a bolt and a nut, I think. So you're gonna need another ratchet to hold the other one in place. So let me undo these real quick, and then that should drop the strut and release the tension. All right, so we took the nut off, hammered that bolt out. Now we can pull it out. And it's gonna all right. There we go. Now we don't have that pressure on there, and then we can take these bolts out and then try and get that ball joint released. So I'm gonna do the top one. Let me work my magic and try to get this knuckle off, and I'll let you guys know. Alright guys, so I was struggling a little bit to get this one off, but once you have that pin off and you take out that nut, you really just gotta whack the out of it, you know, and then it'll pop off. And then I'm gonna see if it's the same deal for this one. We're gonna lift it up. At least now we can take out the axle completely. So I'm gonna pull this back and then you can pull the axle off. Just like that. I'm gonna use both of my hands. So give me 1 second. Alright, just like that, we got our axle out and we can take it out. Oh, never tug it like that. Just what I just did, don't do that, because then it'll break off from here and then you're gonna have this stuck there, and it's just best to just pry it out from here. So just like that. Boom. Get this axle out of here. All right. So now we got that axle off. We just gotta separate this right here. I'm assuming we just gotta whack the heck out of it as well. So give me a second. Alright guys, so what I ended up doing was just spraying WD-40 in there. I stuck the little fork in there and I just, well, I did hammer it, I did hit it. I kept hitting it a lot, and then I stuck this in there and I just kept wiggling it out. So it's off, it's loose now, so this can come right out. Just like that. Nice. So that's where I left off on the other side. So now that we got the main thing was just to get the axles removed and just a lot of the suspension stuff, because all the suspension stuff is going to get replaced brand new. The steering rack, I'm going to get rid of the power steering and I'm going to put in a manual steering rack, so I'm going to be replacing that soon as well. Now we're going to disconnect the shift linkage to the transmission. So that's right here. Alright guys, so to disconnect the shift linkage from the transmission, we pull this rubber boot back from this first bar here. It's going to have a little bracket wrapped around it, so just remove it. So this just goes like that. It just goes in right there, so just take it out. And then this is the little bolt we have to get out. So just get like a little flathead that's just small enough to fit in between and just hammer it out. So let me hammer it out real quick and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Alright guys, so check it out. This is what I had to do to get that pin out. I'll show you guys exactly. So I hit it from the top. This is the setup I used. Regular screwdriver with the extendos. Got 2 extensions, and this is the size I used, a 5mm, whatever you want to call it, hex, fucking bullshit. But yeah, 5mm, that'll fit perfectly on top. You gotta really hammer that thing down. So hammer it down, it'll pop off halfway like that. Get some pliers and just pull it out. Alright guys, so we got most of the pin out. You can pull this thing back a little bit. It won't let you pull it completely out. So I'm gonna undo this bolt right here. This is a what was it? It's a 12mm bolt. Shit, let me show you guys, man. It's a 12mm bolt. Just fuck the camera. So we're gonna undo that bolt, and then we're gonna undo the transmission brackets and the mounts, and hopefully just pull the transmission out, and it'll come off from there, and then we can take the transmission off. Alright guys, so I already broke loose most of the bolts and the nuts. So the ones for this mount right here are all 17mm bolts and nuts. So 2 17s here, and then the 17 bolt here. Don't try to take the nut off because you'll be here all day. It's the bolt. Take the bolt off. So I'll take the bolt off. These right here, actually no, my bad. These are 19. Yeah, okay, so these right here are 19, and these right here are 17. So these right here are 17. So I got the top ones out, so this bracket's already loose. These 2 are already off, just got this 1 bolt holding it in there. So now I'm just gonna remove the last 3 here, take that off, and take this last bolt off, and hopefully just pull the transmission out, and it'll disconnect from the shifter there. Alright guys, so easy peasy. Undid the bolts on the top transmission mount, side one and the rear one. Took off the bolts how I told you guys, and just started to pull the transmission. As soon as I took off that last bolt, the transmission began to like slant backwards, so I just pulled it, and then it dropped it to the ground, and then I was able to unhook it from here. So now that we have the transmission out, I'm just gonna finish cleaning it up. And maybe, guys, I'm gonna make a whole nother video. I'm gonna just take it apart and inspect it and just, I'll see what's up with it. I've never taken the transmission apart, so just might even do that. All right, guys, so I already have everything off, unbolted from the steering rack, so I'm already like good to go to pull it out. So I'm gonna show you guys what you have to remove in order to get to this point. So first of all, you're gonna, like I showed you guys before, the bracket here, that's a 14 millimeter bolt. There's 2 of them that you're gonna have to remove in order to get that bracket off. These 2 bolts right here are 17 millimeter, and you're also gonna have to remove this little chunk right here. That's a 10 millimeter bolt and a 19 millimeter bolt. That's this big one right here. Goes underneath like that. So that's all you have to remove from the outside. And in order to get this to completely disconnect from the steering column, I'm gonna it's only just a 10 millimeter bolt inside. So you remove this plastic by pulling off this little clip there, and then it's literally this bolt right here. It's a 10 millimeter. It goes right through there. That's the only bolt you have to remove. And that's it. This thing comes right off. So let me pull it out real quick. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, you guys are probably wondering, well, how did you do it? How did you just pull it out? I just had this up with my knee like this. This is going to give you the wiggle room, so you're just going to pull it and twist it down this way like that, and it'll come off, and then you pull everything off with it. It's not that hard. But we got that steering rack off. I'm going to order a manual steering rack. I'm going to see if I can sell this. I know the pump is still good. Everything was functional. This line is new. I bought that and replaced it. So the only thing they'd probably have to replace is this. This is all jacked up, but we'll see. But yeah, now that we have that steering rack out of the way, I can definitely get into this and clean that up, especially all that. Look at that. So we're going to clean that up as much as possible. And then set up the welder as well. I have found out the settings already, the thickness of the metal. Is that right here? So we're at 14 gauge. That's the thickness of that. So I got the settings all set up. So I won't do that today, but I will do it soon. So I gotta practice. So I'll probably just cut up the exhaust. I gotta measure how thick the exhaust is and just practice my welds there before I try to work on this. So I'll make a whole separate video on that. But for now, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.